Zara Washington stood in front of the mirror, wearing faded jeans, a loose blue shirt, and old sneakers. Her hair was tucked under a black cap. In her hand was a plain ID card that read, Z, Cleaning Staff. She looked nothing like the next CEO of Prestige Holdings Incorporated, but that was the point. Her mother, Angela Washington, was the founder and CEO of one of the most successful black-owned companies in the country. Angela built the company from nothing, starting from a one-room office to a building that touched the sky. And now it was time for Zara to step in. But Zara didn't want to walk in through the front door with the title. She wanted to walk in through the back, quietly as a cleaner, so she could see who really treated people with kindness and who only smiled through the cameras. Only the branch manager, Mr. Darrell Jacobs, knew who she really was, and he didn't like the idea at all. "Ma'am, you don't have to do this," he whispered when she arrived at 5:50 a.m. that Monday. "I want to," Zara replied. "No one must know." He sighed, nodded, and handed her a set of keys. Storage closets down the hall. As she walked through the hallway, she passed several employees. Not one of them looked her in the eye. Some brushed past her like she was invisible. One woman muttered, "Ah, they hire anyone these days." Zara said nothing. She simply opened the janitor's closet, grabbed a mop, and started cleaning. The floors were cold. The lights were too bright. Her back ached just 1 hour in. But she kept going, washing windows, scrubbing toilets, wiping down glass doors, while keeping her ears open. She quickly noticed things. One manager loudly insulted a young intern for making a tiny mistake. A man from sales walked past her and dropped his coffee cup right on the floor. "Clean that up," he said without even glancing at her face. Zara felt the sting, but she smiled. She wasn't just cleaning. She was learning. By lunchtime, she sat alone in the break room. No one invited her to sit. No one even asked her name. But then someone did. "Hi there," said a cheerful voice. "You knew." Zara looked up. It was a woman in her 40s with tired eyes but a kind smile. "I'm Clara. I work in accounting," she said, handing Zara a cup of tea. "It gets cold in here sometimes." Zara was surprised. This was the first act of kindness she'd seen all day. "Thank you," she whispered. Clara nodded. "People forget cleaners are humans too, but not me. I was once one myself." Zara smiled, touched by the words. Later in the day, she returned to her duties. She overheard a group of employees mocking the elderly. She saw another man watching inappropriate videos at his desk. But when the regional manager walked in for a surprise visit, everyone stood straight, smiled wide, and acted like angels. Zara watched it all and silently took notes. Tuesday morning arrived like a whisper. The office lights blinked on at exactly 6:00 a.m. Zara was already there, broom in hand, standing quietly in the lobby. It had been just one day, but she already felt the pressure of pretending she wasn't the daughter of the most powerful black woman in corporate America, pretending she was just Z, the new cleaner who everyone ignored. And yet, she didn't want to stop, because what she had seen yesterday, it lit a fire in her heart. Today, she started on the upper floors. The sixth floor was filled with important people, team leads, senior executives, and flashy sales reps. The hallway walls were decorated with motivational quotes and shiny awards. But Zara knew walls can't hide character. As she cleaned a glass wall near the boardroom, she overheard a group of men laughing behind her. "Did you see that new cleaner?" "No class at all," one man said. "Probably dropped out of school," another chuckled. "Look at the way she walks." Zara stood still, her back to them. They didn't know she could hear them. They didn't know she was holding the report for their upcoming promotions. She moved on to the marketing wing, where things seemed calmer. She walked into a shared office to clean the desks and empty bins. One woman sat there quietly, typing. When Zara reached for the trash can beside her, the woman looked up and smiled. "Thank you," she said softly. "That can get gross by the end of the day." Zara paused. "No problem," she replied, smiling back. That was Maya. Zara made a mental note. Maya, marketing, desk 12. Respectful. Later that morning, Zara entered the executive lounge to vacuum the carpet. A man in a sharp suit walked in, looked at her, and frowned. "Can you come back later?" he snapped. "This room is for staff." Zara looked him in the eye. "I was told to clean it now." He crossed his arms. "Do you even understand English?" That stung. Zara slowly nodded, bit her lip, and pushed the vacuum aside. She left the room quietly, but not without remembering his name tag. Mr. Howard Wexler, Senior VP. She headed downstairs, wiping her eyes before anyone could see the tears. In the break room, Clara, the kind woman from accounting, found her again. "You okay?" she asked. Zara nodded. "Just tired." Clara handed her a sandwich. "Here, you can't clean on an empty stomach." Zara sat beside her, grateful beyond words. "You know," Clara said, "I've been here for 20 years. I've seen people come and go, the ones who last. They're not the loudest. They're the kindest." Zara looked at her. "Do people respect kindness here?" Clara chuckled sadly. "Not always, but the right people do. And that's what matters." Zara nodded slowly. That meant more to her than Clara could ever know. As the day ended, Zara helped clean the CEO's private office. No one knew it was her mother's. She ran a cloth gently over the framed photo on the table, her mother holding baby Zara in her arms. That office would one day be hers, but she didn't want to sit in it until she knew what kind of workplace she'd be leading. One built on fake smiles, or one led by genuine respect. That's why she was here. Tuesday morning began early again. Zara arrived at the branch office even before the sun fully rose. Her sneakers squeaked quietly on the polished floor as she moved through the quiet halls. No one greeted her. No one asked how she was. To them, she was invisible. And that was exactly what she wanted. With her mop and bucket, she went straight to the fourth floor, customer service. That floor was supposed to be the heart of the company. It was where people came with complaints, concerns, and sometimes with tears. It was where the company's values, compassion, patience, respect, were meant to shine the brightest. Zara had high hopes, but what she saw shattered them. In the first hour alone, she witnessed a customer service rep laughing behind a client's back after the woman left in tears. The reason? The woman had asked if the company could delay a payment because she was sick and had lost her job. The rep, Michelle, turned to her coworker and said with a smirk, maybe if she had planned better, she wouldn't be begging now. Zara paused her cleaning. Her heart dropped. No empathy. No understanding. No soul. She scribbled something into her small notepad when no one was watching. Michelle, customer service desk 14, cruel, cold. Zara quietly moved to the next office, wiping down desks, emptying bins, and pretending not to hear the toxic jokes, the whispers, and the arrogance. But then, a different voice broke the pattern. "I know this is hard, sir, but I promise I'll help you the best I can, even if I have to stay late." Zara looked up. The voice came from a young man named Jordan. He was on a call, his tone calm, kind, and sincere. He didn't know Zara was watching from the corner. He had no idea the cleaner was silently evaluating everything. When the call ended, Zara approached quietly. "You're really patient with people," she said softly, pretending to be shy. Jordan smiled. "Well, they come to us with problems. The least we can do is not make it worse, right?" Zara nodded. Another mental note. Jordan, desk 6, genuine, compassionate, keep. Later that day, Zara entered the staff lounge. It was busy. Lunch break, laughter, gossip, loud voices. She sat at the far end of the room, alone with her small sandwich. She wasn't expecting anyone to speak to her. Then it started again. "Oh, look, she's back," someone whispered. "She cleaned the wrong hallway yesterday. I had to walk through dust." A woman exaggerated, laughing with her friend. Zara didn't flinch. She had been raised by a queen. She had learned that the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. She sipped her water calmly, letting the moment pass. But across the room, Clara, the kind woman from accounting, gave them a sharp look and stood up. She walked over, placed an orange on Zara's tray, and sat beside her. "You don't need to explain yourself to anyone here," Clara said gently. "Just do your job. The real ones will see you." Zara smiled deeply. That small act meant the world. By evening, Zara had finished another long day of cleaning and listening. Her notebook was growing fuller, and so was her understanding. This company, her future, had cracks, but it also had light. A few good people, a few quiet stars, a few real hearts. And she wasn't going to let the rot at the top poison them. She had 5 more days, and every moment would count. Wednesday was loud from the moment the building opened. Phones rang. Elevators dinged. High heels clicked across marble floors. Zara, still Z the cleaner, walked in through the back, her hoodie up, headphones in. But she wasn't listening to music. She was listening to the company. Today, she planned to spend her full shift on the 5th floor, human resources and training, the very people responsible for enforcing the company's values. She was hopeful. Maybe this was the floor where things were better. But what she found was worse. Her first stop was the HR office. A woman named Vanessa sat at a large desk, scrolling through her phone. On her desk sat a bright sign, "We rise by lifting others." But as Zara quietly swept the floor, she overheard Vanessa talking on the phone. "I told her if she's late again, we'll let her go. I don't care if she's a single mom. Not my problem." Zara's hands froze. The words hit harder than they should have. Then came the second call. "No, I don't believe she was really sick. People like her always use excuses. She's just lazy." Zara stared at the quote on Vanessa's desk again. "We rise by lifting others." But Vanessa was too busy pushing people down. Zara made another mental note. Vanessa, HR. Cold, heartless, two-faced. Next, Zara moved to the training and development wing, where new employees were coached on how to behave in the workplace. Surely, the people training others would lead by example. She was wrong. In one room, a group of trainers sat in a meeting. The door was half open, and Zara quietly mopped the hallway nearby. Inside, laughter echoed. "I gave the new guy a quiz with all the wrong answers just to mess with him," one man said, laughing. Another woman added, "I told the intern to go get skyhooks from the supply room. He was gone for 20 minutes looking." They all laughed. Zara didn't. These were the people trusted to train the next generation, and they were poisoning the foundation. She looked at their name tags one by one and jotted them down mentally. Terrence, Carla, Nina. Trainers, immature, unprofessional, dangerous. Around 1 o'clock p.m., Zara sat quietly in the staff garden, taking a short break. She was wiping her hands when someone approached her. A young woman, maybe 19, carrying a large stack of papers. "Hey, sorry to bother you. I'm new and kinda lost. Do you know where conference room B is?" Zara pointed to the hallway. "Second right, then first left." The girl exhaled with relief. "Thank you so much." Zara smiled. "First week." The girl nodded. "Yeah, and it's been rough. Some of the staff treat me like I don't exist." Zara leaned in. "Don't let that break you. You belong here. You're learning. That's what matters." The girl blinked. "You're really kind. Thank you." As she hurried off, Zara made a different kind of note this time. Selfie, intern, kind soul, must protect. By 6 p.m., Zara stood by the glass windows of the 5th floor, watching the sun go down. She thought about the people she met, some shallow, some cruel, but a few quietly kind. She realized something important. It wasn't just about firing bad employees. It was about lifting the right ones up. Her mission wasn't just cleanup. It was transformation. Day 4, Thursday. Zara walked into the building through the back entrance again. But this time, she felt different. She had seen too much, heard too much, and stayed silent for long enough. Today, she was heading to the top floor, where the executives had leather chairs, glass doors, and endless cups of gourmet coffee. People didn't clean this floor with mops. They cleaned it with silence. As she stepped off the elevator, the energy changed instantly. Here, people didn't talk unless spoken to. The air was heavier, not with work, but with pride. Her first task was to clean the glass conference room used by senior leadership. She wiped the table carefully, listening through the thin walls as a group discussed bonuses and budgets. "Well, I'm not giving Clara from accounting a raise," one said. "She's nice," another responded. "But she's too old school. Let's hire someone younger who can keep up." Zara's blood boiled. Clara was the only one who had shown her kindness all week. She continued cleaning, but her hands were tighter, her movements sharper. She wrote in her notepad under the table. "Elliot, finance director, ageist, arrogant, disrespectful." Later, she entered Office 7A, assigned to clean the windows and dust the bookshelves. Inside sat Ms. Rachel Green, vice president of strategy. Zara knocked softly. "I was told to clean this office," she said. Rachel didn't look up. "Make it quick. And don't touch the papers." Zara began to clean the windows silently, glancing occasionally at the woman's screen. Emails open, a resume pulled up, and a chat window where Rachel typed fast. Zara squinted slightly and caught the message. "The cleaner here today is so slow. I might report her to security. She smells like bleach." Zara clenched her jaw. This wasn't just about rudeness anymore. It was about human dignity. She finished silently, stood tall, and whispered to herself. One more name added. At 2 o'clock p.m., Zara passed the executive lounge. A group of senior male staff laughed loudly as she walked by. One called out mockingly, "Hey, you missed a spot back there, sweetheart." The others chuckled. Zara paused, turned slowly, and gave a small nod. Inside, she was screaming, but outside, she stayed calm. She was building her case. One moment, one insult, one cruel word at a time. Around 4:30 p.m., Zara finally found a moment of peace. She stepped into a small, unused training room and sat on a stack of folded chairs. Her body ached, her eyes stung, and for a moment, she doubted herself. Why was she doing this? Why not just walk in with her real name, her real title, and fire everyone on the spot? But then she remembered the intern named Sophie, who still smiled despite being ignored. She remembered Jordan in customer service, who went above and beyond. She remembered Clara, who shared her lunch with a stranger in a cleaner's uniform. They were the reason. She wasn't just undercover for herself. She was undercover for them, for everyone who was kind, humble, and honest in a system that only rewarded loud mouths and big titles. Zara stood up slowly, wiped her face, and returned to her shift. The day wasn't over, and justice was coming. Friday morning arrived with heavy skies. It had rained the night before, and the office floor smelled faintly of damp carpet and cold coffee. Zara entered the building with her hoodie up, holding her cleaning cart. Her fingers were sore, her arms tired, but her heart. That's where the real weight sat. Today, she was scheduled to work across it in tech support and then rotate through the staff lounge and break rooms before lunch. She had no expectations anymore. No hope that someone might greet her with kindness. She had accepted her role as the invisible woman in the building. But then, something different happened. At 9:13 a.m. in the IT wing, she was cleaning under a desk when a man stepped in. "Hey, you okay down there?" a voice asked gently. She looked up, blinking. It was a tall, shy-looking man with thick glasses and kind eyes. "Oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to scare you," he said, holding up his hands. "I just haven't seen you around much." Zara got up slowly. "I'm Z, just helping out this week." He nodded. "I'm Marcus. You need a hand with that cart. One of the wheels looks loose." Zara stared at him. In 5 days, not a single person had offered help. "Thank you," she said, stunned. He knelt down and fixed the wheel with a screwdriver from his backpack. As he stood back up, he added, "Don't let the suits get to you. I've worked here 7 years. I've seen them smile at the CEO and spit on the janitor. You're doing honest work." Zara blinked back tears. He didn't know her title, but he had seen her worth, and that was real leadership. She made a quiet mental note. Marcus, it's support, humble, decent, deserves more. But as the morning passed, the kindness faded again. At 10:42 a.m., Zara entered break room C to mop. She accidentally bumped into a woman spilling coffee. The woman exploded. "Are you serious? These floors are wet because of you. I swear, every time I see you, something goes wrong." People around laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was easy. Zara apologized softly, even though it wasn't her fault. She cleaned up the mess while the woman stormed off, muttering insults. Zara remained still. Her hands shook slightly. She left the room and rushed down to the storage closet, locking herself inside. She slumped against the wall and cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears, the kind that fall when you've carried too much for too long. It wasn't about the coffee or the yelling. It was about being dehumanized. Day after day, she took deep breaths and wiped her face. But what she didn't know was that Clara had seen her leave, and moments later the door knocked. "Z?" Clara called softly. "Can I come in?" Zara hesitated, then opened it. Clara stepped in, holding a warm sandwich and a cup of tea. She didn't ask questions. She didn't force words. She just sat beside her and said, "People don't see what's in front of them until it's too late." Zara whispered, "How do you stay so kind when the world isn't?" Clara smiled sadly. "Because someone has to be." Zara looked at her. "Clara, one day soon, this company's going to change. And when it does, you'll be one of the reasons." Clara raised a brow. "Big words, young lady." Zara just smiled through her tears. "You'll see." It was supposed to be a short day. Just clean up and prep before Monday's board meeting. Most of the regular staff had gone home for the weekend, but Zara arrived early, dressed in her usual faded uniform. No makeup, still Z the cleaner. Only today, something was different. She didn't carry a mop. She carried a black notebook. It held every name, every offense, every kind word, every quiet act of decency. This wasn't just paper, it was her case file. 6 days of observation, 6 days of being invisible. And today was the last day she would wear this disguise. At exactly 10 o'clock a.m., Zara walked up to the top floor, the executive boardroom. Inside, the leadership team sat around a long glass table, preparing slides and sipping coffee. They didn't see her at first, until she cleared her throat. All heads turned. "What are you doing here?" snapped Mr. Wexler, the senior VP who had mocked her days ago. "I asked for silence on this floor today," added Rachel Green, rolling her eyes. Zara walked forward without fear. "I'm here to speak, and believe me, you'll want to listen." They laughed. "You're a cleaner," someone muttered. But then, CEO Angela Washington stepped into the room behind her. Her heels clicked with authority. Her voice was calm but sharp. "She's not just a cleaner," Angela said. Everyone froze. "She's my daughter. And next year she becomes co-CEO." Silence. Mouths dropped. Faces turned pale. Zara stepped forward, slowly unzipping her jacket and placing her notebook on the table. "I've been working here undercover for 6 days," she said clearly, "and I've learned more about this company's soul than any annual report could show me." She'd opened the notebook and read, "To Michelle in customer service, who mocked a grieving customer behind her back. You will be let go." To Rachel Green, who typed cruel messages about staff and humiliated junior workers, "Your position is under review." To Mr. Wexler, who made inappropriate remarks and treats others with arrogance, "You're being investigated immediately." Several executives gasped, but Zara wasn't done. To Clara from accounting, who shared food with me when I was at my lowest, not knowing who I was, "You're being promoted." To Jordan from customer service, who went above and beyond for clients, "Your story will be used in our next staff training video." And to Marcus from Ed, the only one who saw me as a human being, "I want you working in my office starting Monday." The boardroom remained quiet. No one spoke. They couldn't. Zara stood tall, her voice calm. "This company has values written on every wall, but some of you forgot to live by them." She looked around the room, locking eyes with each person. "From this day on, it won't matter what title you hold. What matters is who you are when no one's watching." Angela nodded proudly, standing behind her daughter. "Zara's decisions are final," she said, "and this is just the beginning." As Zara left the boardroom, the staff who had once ignored her watched in stunned silence. Some hid their faces. Others stood still, unsure of what to say. But Clara, she smiled with tears in her eyes. Zara walked over and hugged her. "You're one of the reasons I stayed strong," Zara whispered. Clara held her hand. "I knew there was something special about you." Zara smiled. "There's something special about you, too, and I'm going to make sure this company finally sees it." It was Monday. The sun rose gently over the glass walls of Prestige Holdings Incorporated, but inside the building, nothing felt the same. People walked quieter, looked over their shoulders, whispered in corners. The news had spread like wildfire over the weekend. The cleaner was the CEO's daughter. She was undercover. She's the new co-CEO. And by 9 o'clock a.m., every employee was summoned to the main conference hall. Zara stood backstage, looking at her reflection in a tall mirror. Today, she wore a dark emerald suit. Her hair was braided neatly, her shoes polished, but her heart, still humble, still true. Angela Washington stood beside her, proud. "Calm. You ready, baby girl?" she asked. Zara nodded. "Let's show them who we are." As they walked into the hall, hundreds of employees sat silently. Some looked scared, others hopeful, a few even ashamed. Zara stepped up to the microphone. The room held its breath. "Good morning," she began. "You may know me now as Zara Washington, daughter of Angela Washington, and co-CEO of this company." Murmurs rippled across the room. "But last week, you knew me by another name, Z, the cleaner." The hall fell into a hush. "For 6 days, I walked among you with no title, no special treatment. I ate alone. I was insulted, ignored, mocked." She paused, her voice steady. "But I was also helped, encouraged, respected by a few." She turned slightly and pointed to the side of the stage. "Clara from accounting, thank you for reminding me what humanity looks like." Clara stood, eyes filled with tears. The room applauded. "Jordan from customer service, Marcus from IT, Sophie the intern, you treated a stranger with dignity. And because of you, this company still has hope." More applause. More hands clapped with honesty this time. Sarah took a breath and looked across the crowd. "This company was built by my mother with her bare hands, not just as a business, but as a beacon for Black excellence, for fairness, for dignity. But somewhere along the way, some of you forgot that. You started to look down on people, to judge them by their uniform, not their character. She walked forward. Well, those days are over. She held up a folder. This is a full internal report. Every name, every act, every moment that went against our values. Some faces turned red, others pale. Those who failed to live with respect will be let go today, not out of revenge, but to protect the culture we're rebuilding. She then smiled. But those who lifted others will rise. Angela stepped forward to speak. From this day on, we're launching a new program. Values over titles. We'll promote kindness, recognize humility, and reward those who treat every person like they matter. Because if a cleaner isn't safe, then no one is. The room erupted in cheers. Real, honest, emotional applause. People stood. People clapped. Some cried. Zara looked out and saw not fear anymore, but change, a new beginning. After the speech, Zara walked back through the same halls she once cleaned. Now people nodded respectfully, smiled honestly, not because she had power, but because she had earned it. In the break room, she saw a new cleaner quietly mopping. She walked over. Hey, thank you for what you do, she said. The woman smiled wide. Thank you, ma'am. Zara handed her a small note. If anyone disrespects you, come straight to me, because she hadn't forgotten where she came from, and she never would.